Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are here for an office hour data ingestion with Apache Pinot. I'm Yarden, head of community at StarTree. I guess I have talked with some of you on Slack, or you see me posting about events or resources. So always feel free to reach out. As I said, we'll start with the questions you guys asked in advance on the registration form, and later on we'll have some time for new open questions. So Manish, I'll let you introduce yourself and take it from here.
Thanks, Yaran. Hi, I'm Manish. I am an engineering manager at StarTree in the India data team, and I've been with StarTree for about 1.5 years. I've focused on the ingestion side of things, mainly like batch ingestion, minion-based batch ingestion, and I've been slowly expanding into other areas as well, not just ingestion. So yeah, I used to work at LinkedIn for a long time, where I was a customer of Pinot, where I used Pinot for storing real-time features, and that's how I got to know about Pinot and the folks, the founders of Pinot, and I joined the StarTree team. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Yeah, so I'm Karthik. Like, I've been working at StarTree for around 3 years now. Before that, like, I was contributing to Apache Pinot, like, as in the open source project as well. I mostly work on the ingestion side right now. Before that, I was involved in the upserts. And initial days, like, I was working on developing the S3 support, the JDBC driver, and like multiple other connectors for StarTree. So yeah, like feel free to ask any questions.
So Saif asked the question: how to use data sketches in Pinot to count unique visitors for overlapping segments with a group by. So I looked at I think there's also a relevant link. I looked at the link. I think the main focus here is that so the reason why you use sketches is like these are probabilistic data structures, and distinct count, if distinct count results in really large number of rows, which needs to be looked at in the broker, that becomes expensive. So also like resource intensive as well, right? So that's why we have the sketches as probabilistic data structures, which is not accurate, but like fairly like reasonably accurate. And we can also play with some knobs to trade off between storage versus accuracy, right? So in the theta sketch, so we have Apache theta sketch. We have hyperlog log as well. Whereas here, I think the question specifically is overlapping segments, which means that we need to do some kind of set operations, right? So we can use theta sketches on the columns between which we want to perform these operations, and which means that the data stored in those columns would be in bytes, like once it's converted to sketches. And then in the query, we would I can put some examples here after this and share it with Yarden actually. So where you can do set operations. Basically, if you're looking at two specific columns, you can say that I want from this column and that column distinct count data sketch. I mean, there is a query expression, and then say that you want to perform set operation of set A minus B, and that's how you can find the overlapping members or whatever you want to find here, right? So basically, use of set operations over the theta sketch defined on those columns between which you want to perform intersections. So there is also a nice video actually from Mayank, from one of our founding members, and I can put that as well. That explains like how to use data sketches and so on. So what I'll do, Yarden, like I can also we can add some links here, and you can share it to the community.
Wonderful. Do it right after the office hour. Next question.
Okay. Next is Sumitra's question. I think so. Maybe Karthik also can add. Like this is so for ingestion from Kafka, what happens when consuming server goes down? So the way it works is that you have a consumer, a thread that is actually consuming data from the stream, like Kafka, and then it keeps adding to the segment, right? And this is all happening in memory. And the way it starts off is that the first thing that the first step for the segment consumption is we need to figure out from where which offset to start for that particular partition, right? Or rather, like where the previous one completed and the next one starts. So we do that by first recording the start offset for that particular partition for that segment in Zookeeper, and then the server starts consuming from that offset and keeps building the segment in memory. And then I think the question is what happens when the server goes down, right? So when the server goes down, when it restarts, say example is like it's been consuming from the topic for a couple of hours and then it goes down, right? So what happens now? So when it comes back up, like what happens, the server starts from, we record the start offset in the Zookeeper. So we again go back to that offset and start consuming from that again, right? So because nothing has been persisted yet. So that is one answer. But like Karthik, do you want to add more to this? Any more details?
Yeah, I think the key point here, like you mentioned, is that we have to start consumption again. Like it's not like
Correct.
we'll
Correct.
start from some mid offset or something.
Exactly.
It'll
This is the key
everything
point.
be from yeah.
Correct. So because it's all in memory, nothing is persisted. So when it goes down, it just starts from the start offset again.
Yeah. Yeah, another point in that is that, for example, if you have replication enabled, in that case, like only if one of the server goes down, the other will keep on consuming. They will commit their segment, and when whatever the server was down, when it comes back up, it will simply download the segment from deep store, like whatever that was committed.
So basically, when you have multiple replicas and some server has caught up and consumed and put it on deep store, that's like the winner, right? That's the winner. And then the
Yeah.
other servers can download from that from deep store, right? Instead of
Yes.
building it. Okay. Makes sense. Jaideep, do you have a question around this? Or
Yeah.
like okay.
Yeah. On this, so like you mentioned, if I have deep store, so when I write to disk, will I commit it to my Zookeeper, or once I write to deep store, I'll commit to Zookeeper?
So the commit actually starts like when it basically how commit happens is that like you have like these three thresholds mentioned in the basically table config, based on the number of rows, the size reached. So whenever like one of the servers reaches that, like it triggers the commit. Then and then like the controller decides like based on like which of the servers is the winner. Then it will ask whoever is the winner to actually like persist and like push it to deep store. And then it will ask the rest of that servers to either try to catch up to that, basically whatever the offset the winner has consumed to, or basically just download it from the deep store. Like that's the order.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, so there is both the time-based threshold as well as the size-based, right? Okay. The third question is this one is like more general, I think, right? In doing capacity planning. So I think this is a more general question. So there are lots of factors here. So the link has also been posted here actually. So there is a part 1 and part 2 of these blogs, very detailed blog actually, where we actually take a use case and explain based on the query. So I mean, like Pinot has multiple components, right? There are servers, brokers, then there is a controller, then there is Zookeeper, and also minions if you do batch ingestion. So how do we provision, do capacity planning for all these, right? So the blog actually goes through a use case where you have a certain QPS query pattern, like so based on the QPS, like how much broker memory is needed, CPU cores needed, like how many servers are needed. And then like you have Kafka stream where we have n number of streams coming in. So you will have n cores for the servers, like how to choose the servers and so on. So I think I would refer to those two blogs because that goes into detail. The first one actually gives a generalized view of capacity planning. And the second blog, the part 2, there's a part 2 of it, which takes a use case which has a particular like QPS and incoming rate, data, I mean, how much data is going to be there, and so on. That talks about a specific example and like how to provision these components. So I think it's better to refer to that, to those two, because it's very in detail actually.
Yeah,
So
and like another thing that I'd like to add here is that like although like the capacity will planning will differ like based on your use case. In general, what we observe is that like Pinot is requires more memory rather than more CPU, like for most of the tasks. Like CPU usage is generally low. So you should focus on machines that have like high memory because we use mmap a lot and like it's better like if you have like more memory like as much as possible. And then like after that like it's basically good IO machines. So because like since it's a database like a lot of read writes happen on the disk. So it's better to have the machines like which have better IO and preferably like some people do use like even machines with local SSDs so that
correct.
like there's no net call involved to EBS.
I think that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, especially the local SSD and also the EBS, and also we also have remote tiered storage as well. So this is the blog that takes this example, right? Like what is the retention period and Kafka, and then it goes into details of like if the throughput is so much, then how do you provision the broker, then server, then if the data size is so much, then how much to store on each server, and if you have replicas and so on. So it's a very detailed blog actually, and this can be used as a template to follow to provision these components. So I'll add these links as well. So Monica has asked this question. Karthik, do you want to take this up? The transform configs.
Yeah, like yeah, basically like it's just like normal array. So however you access the element in an array, like using square bracket and index, right? That's how you do it here as well. Like that's not different.
I see. Okay. So maybe you can put some example after this, Karthik.
Yeah,
You can add some
yes,
example.
I'll do that. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen like a lot of people having questions in the usually like writing the Groovy functions, the transform configs, or yeah, around that. It's like, Yarden, like, are there more questions in the form, like the Zoom form, or can we just open it up?
No, so there were no more questions on the forum. We do have a question from Raghav on the Q&A chat asking, we have Pinot setup where data ingestion has stopped from Kafka. On deep dive, we found that several segments and servers are offline. Can you share the next steps here? And
It's
Raghav,
almost like live debugging.
So, Manish, like I'll provide you a brief overview of what we are trying to do. So we have a Pinot setup where we have 30 servers, and our ingestion rate can go up to 1 million, 2 million records per second. So previously we observed no issues with ingestion, but as soon as we started querying the data, we observed that several of the segments are going offline and several of the servers are offline too. And we deep dived on this and we found that there was a CPU issue. So CPUs we were only assigned 2 cores to the server. So that we have fixed now. We have assigned 14 cores now and restarted the servers. But even after that, the issue is persisting. Like we're not able to start the ingestion at the full scale or even start the query at full scale.
So the CPU utilization was high, you're saying, and that's why the segments, you had the segments going offline. So the servers going like just to clarify the problem, you had like a very high ingestion rate and two servers, right?
No, we had high ingestion rate 30 servers.
30 servers, sorry, 30 servers.
And we had only 2 vCPUs assigned to each server.
vCPUs.
So when we started the querying Pinot, we started observing this issue that several segments and servers are not responding.
And like, are these servers are all up like or like they are available, like they are not restarting or anything, right?
Yeah, the servers that are available, I'm able to log into the servers. I've checked the disk space utilization on the servers. That is also pretty low.
Yeah, so in that case, like if you go to the table config, right, and like search for like basically look at your table. So does it show up as in good state or does it show up as like updating or like something else? Like I would suggest to check there.
Yeah, it is showing up as an error state, and the errors
Okay,
are
okay.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
the basically segments are showing up as error state.
Yeah, segments are also showing up as error state. I have the logs also with me. If you want, I can share my screen also.
Do you want to share that? Like,
I think
Yeah.
logs should be fine. We have logs only. We have no critical data here.
oh, okay. I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
share any like particular specific log patterns or something like that, you can
Yeah.
just share.
I can share it on the chat then directly.
I mean, segments are in error state. Okay.
Yeah, that generally happens
it's
like when either during load they face just some error, like during state transition, right?
Correct.
And so only the logs can tell us like what actually happened. Maybe some schema changed, or like it's not able to, I'm not sure, like download the segment itself from the D store or something. Only logs can tell us that, like why it is in error state right now.
yeah. And how many partitions are there in the source stream?
30.
30 partitions. Okay.
Yeah.
I see
And
the log is shared on the Q&A, Manish.
yeah, this looks like this is from the server log, or
This is that command, verify cluster state command. Server log, I was able to find only one error, which I am sharing now. This is the error in server. Like these errors was repeating multiple times.
so you have 30 partitions in the Kafka, right?
Yeah.
And in Pinot, are you using the same like partition function that is used for the Kafka partitioning as well? Like, so you have only because first I'm just trying to verify that the partitioning is the same, that one-to-one
Yeah.
mapping, and there's no issue with that.
I think the best would be like if we can, like, apart from the logs, if we can see the UI itself, like Pinot, we can quickly check like there's something
Pinot,
that's
the
wrong.
table, Pinot UI itself.
Yeah, table UI itself, like what is happening with the table config as well. Like if data is sensitive, obviously, like
Correct.
feel free
That's
not to share it. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, like just a general, maybe Karthik, we can just give a general approach. Like if the segment is in bad state, which means that the segment could not go online, right? Like some
Yes.
failure
Yeah.
happened in the server. So
Yes.
for that particular segment, whatever the logs that we can see, I mean, if we pick one segment that is in the error state and then grep or search for that segment in the server and see what has happened to that segment, and then
Yeah.
track like if there are any exceptions for that
Yeah,
segment, then
generally
we can
that's the
understand.
rule I follow. Like
Yeah.
just start from a single segment, check all the graph for all the logs for that particular segment only, see like what happened, what exception occurred, and then like try to fix that. Like
Yeah.
where is the exception and everything shared? Like, is it in the Zoom Q&A? Because I'm not able to see it.
No, that is error logs are there.
I think it's in Zoom QA. I think panelists might be able to see it.
Yeah. Manish, can you share that with me? Like, since I joined as participant.
Yeah. So I can see these logs.
I made you a panelist.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
So Raghav, are you? These are the logs that you're referring to, right? One is the cluster state verifier, and then the error logs in the server, right? So this is the query log. So I think the Karthik and I were talking about, right? Like you can follow these steps. Like you can go to the controller UI, and like when you click on table, you see bad segments, right?
Yeah.
And you can pick one example of a bad segment. So usually what we do is there is this ideal state and external view. If you're familiar with that,
Yeah.
if you're familiar with the ideal state external view gives you like what are all the segments in the error state, right? And you can pick one segment and then figure out like which servers are consuming for that segment, and then go to that server and then grep search for that particular segment in the server log, and what exceptions do you see for that particular segment. That can give you an idea why the segment actually did not go online. Right? So
generally, like the most common ones I have seen is like for either it fails to download from the deep store, or like it fails to get metadata from Kafka Kinesis, whatever, like real time table, or like basically like if some schema change or something happened and like it says like okay, it's incompatible now and can't load. Like these are the three major things I've seen. Like other than that, like I can only check from the exception.
So even Karthik, like even like say ingestion failures or parsing errors that can also result in this, or like
no, parsing errors
that's
don't
not
result in this
that's
for sure. That's
okay.
yeah, it won't go into error state or anything.
It
It
won't
will
get
go into
okay.
error state only like if it fails to go online. Like then
Correct.
and
The final thing, right?
and the yeah, and the way to get out of it is to first identify like what caused it, fix it, and then like click reset in the Swagger API. Just and then like it will just restart everything. So
By reset, do you mean the segment reset, or there is some other reset also on the Swagger API?
no, segment reset only.
Segment reset.
So actually, we tried that. So segment reset is also not working for us. There is some error on the
Yeah,
segment.
because so that error is so segment reset won't do anything. Like we first need to identify like what is
the problem,
the
right?
error. So for example, if the error is it's not able to fetch Kafka metadata for some reason, so then you need to see like why is it not able to fetch? Like is it the connection is getting broken or what is happening? It doesn't have access to Kafka. VPC doesn't have access or something. Then you need to fix that. Then you can use reset. So how reset works is that like it doesn't do anything major. It simply like offloads like whatever the segment you have chosen. Then and it does that by setting its state to offline in the basically the
Correct.
ideal state. And then like when everything is offloaded, it again changes that state back to online and like just depends on server to do whatever is necessary to get it to online. So it will again go through the same steps. And like if it goes through the same steps and the error is like not fixed, so it will run into that error again. Like nothing will happen.
Yeah, if the problem
So
persists, then it will just keep failing. So reset is more for like some transient things that you want to overcome. Like you just do a reset so that you repeat it again. Go offline to online and servers are able to download and go back to online, right? But if there is a problem which doesn't go away, then you will keep failing there.
Okay, got it. So, one more thing I was thinking is that this is not an issue with disk, right? The segments are there on the disk. There is some other issue, right? Or the disk is corrupted.
no.
There
This
will be
is
less
not the
chances of
issue
that.
with disk. No.
I mean, there is another thing where if typically the other reason why the segment, but I think this is not the reason here. I think, but one of the reason is like when you try to download the segment and you run out of disk space, right?
But
Then
here,
that is,
like he
but it's not. Yeah,
already
you
checked. Yeah.
correct. Yeah, since you told that there is disk is not a problem, so that's not the.
Let me try the steps. Then I haven't checked the segment logs.
Yeah. Just grab for the segment name and the logs, like all these lines like contain the segment name. So you can just get those logs and like probably you will get one of those lines will have some exception. So you can just grab for that and like you'll be able to find the cause. If you are not, just post that exception in the Slack, like if it's some way, so we can check that out.
Sure.
Do we have any other questions from someone? That's the time. That's
Hi,
the.
Manish. Saif here.
Hi, Saif.
Yeah, hi.
I think
So
yeah.
I joined the call late. I already was on another call, and so sorry for that. I mean, I didn't know if you were able to answer my question or not. So maybe if you can
Yeah.
sum up for me.
Sure. I think you had the question about the
Yeah, about filter IDs with StarTree and group by on Tita sketches.
So actually we'll put a example here actually. So have you explored using Theta sketches?
Yeah, I did. I did ingested my data as Tita sketches, and then I
Okay.
wanted to find out how many unique users were there in a specific segment. Segment as in, let's say, 500 unique males, 200 unique females, 300, let's say, of another gender. So this is how I tried to make my query work. But on Tita sketches, the group by doesn't work. Like without using another column as a group by, the theta sketches provides you with the correct answer, but with another column and doing a group by, it doesn't work.
I see. So, but you tried using the set operations and without group
Yeah,
by
I
it
did.
works.
I did. Yeah, I did. So the set operations, union, intersections, all of these work as long as I don't use a group by. But the moment
I
I
see.
use group by, it just fails to give me an answer.
What does it give you? Like what happens when you use
Uh,
group by?
so it gives me 0, 0. So let's say I don't get a unique answer. The column is always 0, 0. So let's say males 0, female 0.
I see. Okay, okay. So I think if we can see the query. So Karthik, do you have any idea about this group by and theta sketch? And
I'm not sure, like, if we can use any other thing. Like, with theta sketches, I don't have a lot of experience,
so
to be honest.
what we can do is maybe you can put your query like if you, even in the chat, I can copy it and we can share it with the
Sure,
team
sure.
as well.
Just give me a
So
moment. I'm sending it away.
yeah, okay. So then that's good. At least you have tried the set operations and it works without the group by, right? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So Raghav also has his hand. You
Yeah,
have
I have a few more questions. If there are no other questions, then I can
okay.
ask.
Okay. I'll get the go ahead. Yeah. So you can ask the question and I can copy the query from Saif. So what should be
So
the approach
should I
with
send it
data
in
aging?
Q&A?
Yeah. I can copy that. I'll copy in this.
Got it.
What should be the approach to data aging?
We also have a question from Jaideep afterwards.
Okay. Karthik, you want to take those questions and I'll just come back with the copy this time.
I'm not able to see.
Oh, you're not able to see. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. Yeah. So let's go with Jaideep's question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jaideep's question is this. These are the questions. So what should be the approach? You can see now?
Yeah. Is there a way to reduce cost on older data which query size? Can we have different approaches for different table? Do we have the support for creating transfer table derived from stream to table? Okay. So for the first one, like you can use tiered storage. So how tiered storage works is that like you can move as your data is getting older, it can be moved to a cheaper thing. Like for example, completely on S3, like nothing will be on disk. Then you can have like retention enabled, so as to like keep on purging the data. And if you have a real-time table, what you can do there is have a hybrid table kind of approach where data from real-time table keeps on getting moved to hybrid tables offline, and that offline table can be like again tiered base where the data can reside on S3 or some other deep store. Nothing will be on disk, so that like since the expectation is like you will be querying it very less, so you will be fine with the higher latencies like for the first time. So that these are the approaches people follow generally. For supporting creating transform tables like from the stream source tables, I'm not sure. Like generally what people do is that like they add transform functions to a table, and where like they specify like what column needs to be, like however the value needs to be changed like for each particular column. But if you can expand more on it, like what do you actually want, like to from that would be more helpful to solve your problem.
Hi guys. So actually, this is Monish speaking on behalf of with Jaideep. So I just joined with this. So this is the question which you're asking. So the first one, I would like to have just want to clarify. So you're just saying if you go with the S3 or if you go to a different storage, basically data archive it is the way to reduce. Okay, which is the standard approach. But I just wanted to understand, do we have inbuilt connectors directly to S3 on Pinot, or that has to be taken care from?
No, you don't have to take care of anything. Yeah, it's just a table config. So by default, Pinot itself keeps on uploading to S3 because it requires a deep store. But like for the feature I am mentioning, like that you will have to enable in table config. So how it works is that like you specify, okay, data for duration less than this needs to be on both local and S3, but data older than this needs to be on S3. And like Pinot will take care of it completely. Like you don't need to do anything. And even when you query it, Pinot will automatically know, okay, this data is not on disk. It needs to be first downloaded and then like it can be available for query. Like that all is taken care of.
Okay, understand. But is there any way to monitor this?
Monitor as in like which segments are available locally or?
Yeah, so for example, we say that older than 2024, we are archiving it.
Yeah.
And can we see that how much is archived and how much is not archived?
Oh, that sense.
Although,
Like I don't think like on the UI, I don't think there's such way. But,
no, but
I'll check. Like if
APIs.
we emit some metric, like to basically which you can plug into Prometheus or Grafana, I'll have to check that.
So Karthik, the tiered storage is there in open source OSS?
Yeah, this is a different tier storage. The open source one is like completely to S3. The closed source one is different. Like that is like basically where you keep some data. Basically, your segments by default are only in S3, but you keep their indices on like local, so their queries is faster. Like that is a different feature.
Different one.
They have similar names, like they are confusing, but like OSS one is what is required here, not the closed source one.
So typically, like when we create for the first question, we have a real time and an offline. So that's the hybrid table, and we have like a real time to offline task that periodically moves the real time to offline, right? And the offline is where we keep that in deep store, right? Like and depending upon even for the offline side, like depending on the age, you can move some segments to the deep store and some segments you can keep it in the local EBS itself, right?
Yeah, so I share the documentation as well. Like
Okay.
is already good enough for it. You can share, just add it to the doc.
And yeah, different, and the other, this is also possible, like different approaches. Yeah, it is table specific.
Okay, understand.
So,
yeah.
And this one, could you explore this? Expand on this?
So to be honest, we were actually looking to see if Pinot can serve as a data warehouse. We just want to try to explore this as a proof of concept. And data warehouse usually involves creating transform tables, from different sources, create a large table, join 2-3 tables or join multiple data sources. So we are thinking, is that possible to do in Pinot, that we combine different, we are sourcing the tables from different places, creating the same, creating those data as tables in Pinot. But is it possible to, merge them or have some function which merge all the data and create a big giant, single table?
Yes. So right now, like Karthik mentioned, right, we have only like transformation from one particular stream. Yes. So there is a topic, there is a stream from the topic, and then we can transform from that stream to whatever you want to store in Pinot. At least in the real-time side, we don't have to consume from multiple topics and combine them or aggregate them. So that is not yet there. So to do those kinds of aggregation across sources and create a denormalized table, or so that is not yet there. So that is a question, right?
Yes, that is a good question. Yeah.
That's the question. So, but you can consume from multiple streams having 2 tables, and then you can do joins across 2 tables. So that is possible.
Okay. Listen, but is there in the pipeline to have such a support?
Yeah, I mean, like we have, it is not, I think at least I've seen such requests come up, but it is, at least as far as I know, it has not been prioritized, or this has come even for the batch side of things, actually, both streaming and batch. So right now you're having to do it outside of Pinot, right? Like maybe you have a streaming pipeline that does all the joins and then produces one combined event that is consumed in Pinot. And people actually don't want to manage those pipelines and want to move it to Pinot itself, right? So I think that has come, but it has not been prioritized. Yes, as far as I know. Karthik, have you come across?
Yeah, no, I am also not aware, like if there's any way to support it, right?
it is just done outside of Pinot, like Pinot then consumes, or they have like multiple tables and they have queries that does the join across tables in the query time itself.
Okay, understand. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Raghav has his hand.
Yeah. So my question is regarding like I mentioned that we have a very high ingestion rate. So what is the recommendation from your end? Like, should we use SSD or should we use HDD? Like, are there any disadvantages of using HDD here for setups with high ingestion and high query rate?
So the ingestion by default, like what we do for the high throughput, right, in stream. So by default, when we ingest the data, right, we use mmap, and like how mmap works is that like it uses like this, like whenever like something can't fit into memory. So if you have like faster disk, obviously like your ingestion will be faster. And once the commit happens, like the commit itself also requires like a lot of copy in the disk, so there as well. And like by the time the commit is happening, like your ingestion will be completely paused. So it's better like if you have a lot of data, so to have like the commits to happen like as fast as possible. So in our opinion, like it's better to have SSDs, or like even if you use like EBS, so have like very high throughput EBS rather than like opting for like HDD, like in my opinion. In our case, like what we mostly see is less people going for high bandwidth EBS, like because it's cheaper for them. Like people don't, yeah.
So the ingestion itself happens in memory, right? For the segment, it's just the commit. When we do the commit, where you have to do an IO that can slow down if you have a
yeah,
HDD,
but
right?
but that memory is like not like heap memory, right? Like that is direct memory via mmap. So
correct.
in principle, like it's disk usage only, because it will get dumped into some file, like if it exceeds the memory is not enough. So better to have like as fast disk as possible.
Yeah, I was trying to see if they had anything talked about it, but anyway, yeah.
Karthik, you mentioned that initially you were mentioning that we should keep in mind that the Pinot instances also have high memory. So by memory, you mean the RAM or the heap memory? What you were talking specifically about heap memory?
No. I was talking about RAM.
Okay, got it.
So Pinot, for most things you will see, apart from the query side, like Pinot doesn't use a lot of heap. Most of the memory that Pinot uses is like off heap, which is like mmap. And like the way mmap works is that like it won't lead to like out of memory errors. Like if you don't have like enough memory, it will simply keep on persisting data to disk and like paging in and out, like as and when it feels. And what it leads to is that like if you have low amount of memory, right, your setup will still work, but it will be slow in performance. So it's just better to, like, if you want higher performance, better to opt for higher memory. And like in our case, like most of the time, like we don't increase heap like beyond like 32 GB, even if we have like machines like as high as 28 or even beyond GB. Most of the memory we keep in each server, I'm talking about specifically in off heap only. Heap is like just 30% or something.
Got it.
Yeah.
Just to Saif is there, right? So just to clarify, so I copied the query, and the problem that you see is when you use group by, you don't get the results that you expect. It's all 0, 0, 0, 0, right?
Yeah, I sent you another query. I mean, I sent you two queries. The first one is working. The second one doesn't work when I use the set intersect, like set functions with distinct count theta sketch and group by. The first query worked. I sent you another query on the Q&A.
Got it. So the first one
works. Yeah, it works. Yeah, it works. The second one, using it with intersections and set functions, doesn't work.
Got it. Okay. Okay, we can ask our query experts as well, and then we can I'll get back.
All right. And one last question. Sorry, It was about I use filter ID sets to filter out rows, and most of the time it doesn't seems to use the star tree. So can you recommend something I can do to make the ID sets use the star tree index?
Oh, so
So
in the query plan, like you see, like it's not using like most,
yeah, it
it's
doesn't
not
use
getting
it.
to
And
you.
when I put it for a longer duration, it sometimes it doesn't comes back with an answer. It just times out.
That is interesting. Like for if
I
it's
have that query. I
happening
can
for,
send it to you.
yeah, that is fine. Like
Share the query.
uh,
So
what
the
can we do?
problem is like the query times out, you're saying? The
Yeah, the query times out, and without using the filter ID, it comes out very quickly, like 10 milliseconds or 15 milliseconds on large data sets, like millions of rows. But the moment I use filter ID sets, it just takes 15 seconds, 10 seconds, and it just times out.
okay.
And when I
So can you
use
also
that,
do one thing? Like, can you also share your table config? Like in that case, just remove any sensitive details from that
got it,
and
got
share
it.
that.
Just
Like, yeah.
give me.
Yeah, Arden,
Yeah,
I'm just copying the information so
character
that we can help him.
there was a character limit, so I wasn't able to.
So I copied the table config. Do you have the query as well? The times out?
Yeah, just 1 second.
This is the query that times out, is it? Okay. So when you use the ID set, it times out.
Yeah, it times out. So it doesn't seems to use the star set. It uses it uses another indexes like the dictionary index or inverted index, whatever other indexes that are applied on the columns and not the star tree.
Oh, I see, I see. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
I mean, we can get this, we can run this by like the query folks and
got it. I also send these things on the Slack group also. So maybe we can
oh, is it
catch.
like okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Question?
All right.
Okay.
I think we will finish with that right on time. I would like to thank you, Manish and Karthik, for running this office hour and for everyone participated for asking the question. We will have more office hours on different topics. In the meantime, feel free to reach out on Slack, on general troubleshooting, and we're here for you. So thank you very much. Thank you.